Back to reality. Here we go. Another video about Katie Joy without a crystal ball. It's really hard to transition into this, but I will do my best. So, content warning, there might be some F-bombs and other unsavory words used in this video, as well as discussion around gaslighting, mental health, stalking, harassment, defamation lawsuits, and so on. If these are not things you want to listen to, please feel free to step out. I also might bring up the word suicide, not as a definition or description, but in terms of how Katie Joy approaches content. So please, please take care of yourselves. Come back at another time when I'm talking about something less triggering. Everything that I say in here is based on my opinions, perspectives, and understanding of the opinions, the facts, and everything else in between that. So don't take my word for it. Just approach my content as I have described, in the way that you choose to, of course. But know that everything here is based on my opinion, and that's all that it is. I'm commentary, drama, content. I'm not an expert. So to talk about Katie Joy, it's like I just did and published the other video, and my voice was in good form. Now I feel like when I talk about Katie Joy, I start to choke up a little bit. Maybe I've overused my voice. But anyway, there's something that occurred to me with Katie Joy. And it's something that has been said before in the content creation world that, we do share space on this platform. There's room for everybody, and there is time for everybody. There's usually money from everybody. Not any money for me. I don't benefit monetarily from anything that I do here whatsoever. I'm close to possible monetization, but it's still a process. Listen, if I were concerned about it, then I would have started off with talking about things that I know that would put me in that bracket. But I kind of enjoy just saying what's on my mind rather than to be controlled over how much I make from it. But I do have respect for people who do put out content, who do make a living from it, because it is a job, it is a career, it is a way to it is a side hustle for other people. So I'm not putting y'all down for that. This is just my own perspective. Now, Katie, all right, it's not just Katie Joy. I've come across people in my life who've always assumed the role of control everything, and I've witnessed that from the time that I was young. Obviously, we realize that a lot of our time and our resources, our emotional resources, is restricted in different situations. I remember, this is a weird story, but I remember in the first grade, there was this, another pupil in my class. I wouldn't even call it a student. We were pupils then. And we would have like free time or playtime in another room in the classroom, not in the classroom, but a separate classroom, just to, just to have a break, to learn through play, something like that. Anyway, there was this one pupil, and I always wanted to play in the castle because there was this huge castle toy. And if I ever can find it, I'll share a picture of that. And it pissed me off that every single time that we would go in there, he would always claim it. Always. There was no real even distribution of time or place. And he always insisted he had to play with that castle. There was no concept of sharing or making space or even making space for girls who might have wanted to play in the castles. Now, it wasn't his fault. Of course, the adults in the room should have um, made things more equitable. It would have been a great opportunity to teach us about space and teach us about collaborating, cooperation, things like that. But it was like almost like an every man for themselves in that time. So it really didn't teach me that I had a lot of say or space in what I could do. It was another example of that. Now, I've come across people who insisted that they were the leaders of some so-called army and they're not. It's not. It's just nonsense. Now, I don't know people's backgrounds if they were indeed in the military or anything, but a lot of it mainly happens. I see it in relationships with kids, but I also see it with adults. Like they think they have the authority on space that is to be shared by all, that everybody has or should have an opportunity to utilize that space, whether it's to make money, whether it's to make content or make content for money, etc. And I've seen it time and time, and it's nonsensical. It's just a imagining of somebody in their mind, but they do tend to get others to do their bidding. They shore up support or fake support to prove that they are legitimate in this false leadership, so to speak. And sometimes it's laughable and sometimes it's very disconcerting. Now, when I think about Katie Joy specifically, she does that. She wants to monopolize everything. She wants the space to herself because she thinks she's entitled to it. She thinks she's entitled to people's experiences, to people's traumas, to people's ability to earn on here. And every single whine, every single piece of nonsense, all her bemoaning about how other people covered the same topic she did, not once did she consider that maybe some of us have an opinion about that. Or maybe someone is covering the topic in a way that is not as scathing and as disgusting as Katie has presented it. And she fails to recognize that. She is not the queen. She is not the center of it. She is among many who are doing the same thing, making content. Obviously, her content is tasteless. It has gotten her into trouble with several defamation suits. I should say a number, not several, because I really don't know how many at this point. And then when she's in trouble, of course, because she can't deal with the fact that that she acts like a scumbag, um, shores up support for herself by either letting people and I would say soft encouraging people to report and harass others, doxing people in order to make that open to harass people. I have never once that I recall heard in any one of her videos to tell anybody not to go out and harass people. Okay. which reminds me I need to put a warning about that in my own content. I have to be more conscientious of that myself. So I will do that when I'm done with this video. But she doesn't do that. So it seems like there's this automatic okay for that type of behavior. And she doesn't care who it affects. She doesn't care about even her critics who have not doxed her. Okay? Now there are some people who are unscrupulous and they don't care. And I'm not referring to them. I'm referring to the people who have not done that, who have not doxed her, who have not encouraged anybody to harass her or anything like that. And she knows who to target. Now, she's not the brightest bulb. She is not a very intelligent person at all. And I look at intelligence in different ways. She doesn't have emotional intelligence. She's not, being manipulative to me is more of a survival skill or a way to take something away from somebody, or if there's insecurity. I think she's all of those things. I think a lot of her behavior does stem from her critical lack of security within herself. I think she's terribly insecure. I think she measures herself based on objects and things and a certain level of wealth. And I think it's because she lacks the character and the emotionality at this point to increase her self-worth. Because no amount of things, no amount of money, it might buy some conveniences, and it does help. I'm not going to lie. But for Katie, that's everything to measure up, to measure herself as a worthy person, worthy of respect, and therefore she demands it at this point because of the size of, perhaps because of the size of her channel, her reach, and it seems she is impervious to any kind of discipline. Now, I don't know if it's a matter of being fair or being reasonable, but this platform in general allows seedy, disgusting, terrible human beings to remain on the platform while these people seek and aim to destroy smaller channels and people with fewer resources. And it's Katie's aim to destroy her critics. She's been that way since day one. She has lied about things that have happened to her. She's lied about people doing things to her who never did anything to her. In my opinion, she's brought vulnerable people onto her panel only to use their experiences, to reappropriate those experiences, to meld it into her own narrative, as a way to have some kind of weird adjacency to other people because she doesn't have an identity of her own. Okay, I mean, if she does have an identity on here, I mean, her character is a troll. Katie Joy is one of the worst trolls on YouTube. And what she does is trolling, but she's also, her actions have led to separation of families, to people losing income to defend themselves, just merely expressing their own right to expression. I also blame that on this platform for not responding to reports of the community standards in terms of service violations Katie has engaged in. And that's a bigger, more serious problem, I think, with YouTube. And I think it is worthwhile, in my opinion, that entities larger than YouTube responsible for this kind of thing look into this kind of um, platform behavior or the reaction from the platform itself, because people's lives are being threatened. People have to move. People have to abandon their content creation. And it makes the platform open to all kinds of predators, whether they're trauma vultures like Katie Joy, or they're child predators like Colleen Ballinger, um, you know, or people like Sniper Wolf, who went directly to someone's house and doxed them and put the entire neighborhood in jeopardy, who herself, she's assumed someone else's identity to create non-content based content. I mean, these despicable characters, also Shane Dawson, I won't get into him, but he's another sack of shit. All, these people are an infection in this community. And, well, their behavior is anyway, and nothing is done about it. And Katie thrives on that. And Katie thrives on the suffering of others. It's like she almost becomes giddy when she hears about someone's passing, because that means someone she hates is going to get their comeuppance. I mean, that's the most disgusting and depraved behavior as it is. And she demonstrated that quite liberally with the Cody Brown and Garrison Brown situation. Despicable human being, despicable behavior. So, as I said before, and probably something I will say in the future, unless there is a larger entity responsible for these types of communications or law enforcement to look into this kind of behavior. I'm not saying regulate freedom of expression, but it has to force YouTube's hand into looking into these reports and actually bringing disciplinary action, against these people, because they are a danger to others on this platform, a direct danger, in my opinion. And, I've said it before that there is a clear and distinct difference between freedom of speech and freedom of expression, though they are intertwined in some way. But Katie's rights would not be affected if her channel were shut down for the harm that she's caused other people. And I think it might take the 7M lawsuit to do that. I read that lawsuit claim, the initial claim. I read through that. And I can understand why Katie, when it comes near time to do these court dates, why she uses her son as a means of deflection, why she pretends she cares by donating money, which she'll probably only request a refund for at the end, most likely, probably. And it's why she pretends to act like a certain way so that she gives a different appearance on that. But her own behavior relating to this specific situation is damning. And I think that this might be the thing that brings this to YouTube's attention. And it's unfortunate it has to come to this, regardless of how you might feel about 7M, regardless of how you might feel about the situation as a whole. And it's unfortunate that people's who are following the terms of service are consistently harassed and not adhered to when they file a report against the doxing, the threats, the behavior, and all of that. Now, I don't know the entire situation with the people I am indirectly referring to in this video. You know who you are, and I respect you, and I understand you. I just don't want to drag your names into this right now. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen after the 7M lawsuit. I don't know what's going to happen with the state of YouTube as it is, but it's becoming, it's a really dangerous place for anybody, and people who don't have the resources don't seem to have the right to express themselves freely. And if they're following the terms of service and they're not defaming anybody, why should they have to pay exponentially for somebody else's bad behavior? It's just disgusting.